When I was a kid, there's all these things I wanted to do. I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be on stages, martial arts. There's all these things I wanted to do. Funny enough, I did all those things. I was a professional musician, owned my own businesses, sold art at galleries and art shows, and I just kept continuing to push forward in everything that I wanted to do. Then, when I was 19, almost 19, not quite, I had a doctor tell me that I had a severe form of cancer that was only going to let me live for 6 months. And in that moment, I said, but to myself, not to them, no, because there's more I want to do and I'm going to do it. And over the course of an 8-year period during that time, that's right, 8 years, not 6 months, I kept doing what I wanted to do. And I kept taking every dime that I had, that I would make during that time, and investing it into my life, literally. A lot of people say they're investing money into their life's passion, into their life's work, into what they want to accomplish with their life. During that time, in my, the prime of my 20s basically, I was investing every dime that I had into just being alive, so I could do more things, so I could be around for more people. Ultimately, so I could pursue the things that I've always dreamed of doing ever since I was a little kid, and I did those things. Then when that cancer was gone, that's when the problems started. A lot of people don't realize that about me. As I'm walking through the woods right now, here on this beautiful 5-acre plus lot of land that I now own, which was always a dream of mine. Plenty of woods with a little bit of yard, just enough to keep you happy. I sit here and think about my problems started when the cancer went away. And it wasn't because I stopped, wanting to live or any of those things. Because I looked back and saw all the things that I had done and I accomplished. And then I realized that much of it was based on the value of dollars and money. And it was all taken from me, just so I could be alive. And that bothered me a lot. So when I got back into business, because I did take a 2-year break from it, I decided that my focus in business wasn't going to be about dollars. It was going to be about doing what I love to do for people that wanted me to do it with them. And that's kind of the point of this video today. I have nothing to sell. I really have nothing to gain from giving you this, except for the fact that I know there's people like you out there that are struggling with daily decisions, life challenges, things of that nature. And a lot of times, nobody gave you the guidance you needed to do what it was that you wanted to do. Well, today, we're going to talk about, literally, how you can create anything. This isn't some philosophical, some personal development recording or anything like that. This is me, a guy on his 5 a.m. morning walk in the woods, is sharing with you what I picked up over the years. And I'm even going to tell you about an experiment that I performed, at first on purpose and then got wrapped up in over the course of a 3 to 4 year period, and how a cataclysmic event in my life caused me to think in an extremely different way than I would typically do, and how it nearly destroyed my life. Now, you have to understand, this was just recently. So all the years that people have known me, I'm creating Selling Lab, the World Entrepreneur Success Training Program, which was actually accredited in a university, Covert NLP, Critical Mass Trilogy, all these epic pieces of work, these bodies of work that helped tens of thousands of people to accomplish the things they wanted in their lives. during that time, I was going through something. It was a shift. And it was self-perpetuated. At first, like I said, on purpose as an experiment. Then I got wrapped up in that experiment. Kind of like a mad scientist of sorts. But luckily, the only people that experiment hurt was me. And I was willing to take that hit. See, I like challenges. I like to know, as I'm sure you do, that we're capable of enduring things. And that shows us that when we're faced with an issue, when we're faced with a big dilemma, that we can take it on head on. There ain't a damn person in this world that's going to be able to stop us, right? We like that. It's human nature to want to challenge ourselves. The problem is, sometimes you can get so lost in those challenges that you can't see when the challenge is actually becoming detrimental to your own existence. So give me a moment here, and I'll pop on a video camera. It is raining today, so I'll try to do this the best way I can. And I'll show you bits of reality that's going to relate to you, that's going to help you move forward in your life, and help you do more in what you want to achieve. And you can start doing it immediately. Like I said, nothing to sell, so just pay attention. Hey there, folks. So as I'm getting my seating ready here because it's raining out, let me just first explain to you why I'm doing this video. You know, about 4 years ago, my dad passed away. And a lot of people don't know this about me, but our family, I'll be out of frame for some of this because I did bring some stuff to lay out so I don't get all wet. Our family were caretakers of cemeteries, Jewish cemeteries. I'm not Jewish, but for nearly 100 years, our family was groundskeepers of these cemeteries, and we actually lived at these places. There's caretakers' houses. And I grew up there, and when I got older, after my high school days, right immediately then, I moved away from home. I didn't want that life, and I wanted to pursue more. My parents wanted me to pursue more, so I did. And what happened was, after that serious bout with cancer, I was very confused with what I was going to do with my life at that point, because I'd spent so many years preparing to not be around, basically. Yeah, I did all the things I wanted to do. I traveled the world, I went to different countries, lived in different countries, fought world martial arts tournaments, won every single one that I'd ever been in, created extravagant oil paintings and sold them at art shows. There's still some of my stuff today hanging in galleries, which is really cool. I also took it upon myself to explore the human condition, how our minds actually affect our physiological state. You know, using the reticular activation system, we can see that everything that we focus on is kind of seems really real to the touch to us, like this camera here. And I want to make sure I get the settings right. Yeah, real professional, right? Let's see. Yes, I believe I do. So this camera here, the trees, the weeds, all this stuff around us, it's all so real, right? It's tangible. I mean, I can take it off, eat it if I wanted to. But all in all of this stuff's just made of energy vibrating at a different level than one another, vibrating at a different speed than one another. So it's funny to think that the water coming from the sky right now, touching down on my skin, is ultimately beginning to vibrate at the same rate as my skin's vibrating. As it soaks in, it'll become part of it, right? And it's that quick, it's that instantaneous. And while I was traveling and while I was reading and researching and going to universities and studying physics and engineering and getting my degrees in all these fun fields, I didn't take my mind off of my general focus. My general focus was I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have a place with vast acres of land and scenery and places I could enjoy the outdoors, because I am a Jaeger, for God's sakes, and a lot of people don't realize that for me, There's huge meaning to that. Our family came from a village in northeast Germany, and our name was given to us because we were a village of hunters. We were the people that the communities would come to hunt for food. Jaeger means hunter, right? And I was raised with the Germanic beliefs that your namesake is part of what your purpose is in life. And it's funny enough is I always loved hunting. I always loved the outdoors. I don't think anybody had to force me into that, but I was pre-programmed by my father, my grandfather, my uncles, and people in my family to let me know that that was part of me. Okay, so I grew up believing for a long, long time that those are the things I was meant to do. I was meant to be a farmer / hunter. And when I was in high school, as much of us do, we start thinking about what do we really want to do? Do we want to do what our parents want us to do? Or do we want to do what we were meant to do? Well, why not both? If you feel deep down inside that part of you is meant for these great, tremendous things, then do it. If you feel that part of you is meant to increase your wealth and your monetary gain, then do it. It doesn't have to be and or. Just be and. If that's what makes you happy. Okay? A lot of people say, well, Bob, you don't understand. Where I'm at in my life right now, I can't create the things I want because I don't have enough money. Once again, everything's energy. Money is just energy. Look, let's say 1,000 years ago, people traded cattle as a form of monetary contribution or an exchange of value. Okay. Well, why'd they stop doing it? Well, because they were too big to move around and they had to feed them. You know, their money was actually a liability as well, right? And they started carrying coins around. Well, guess what? That stuff's too heavy and it was easy to steal that stuff when being transported, right? So they went into paper. It was a lot lighter. You could hide it easier, right? You could store a lot of it. It wasn't going to take up a lot of space. And those were things that were based upon a monetary system of being backed up by precious metals and the like, right? People say, well, the US dollar isn't worth anything anymore. It's not based upon gold or silver or anything. No, it's based on oil. This is what a lot of people don't really understand. People are like, oh, I know, the war's over in the Middle East. They fight those because of the oil. What you don't understand is this. During the Iraqi war, like when I was a kid, when the Desert Storm started and all that stuff, that war had nothing to do with a dictator. It had nothing to do with oppression of people. And it had nothing to do up into the 2000s of finding weapons of mass destruction. It had to do with one thing. The Iraqi government was starting to create their own currency. It was going to be backed by their own gold and things like that. And there was a good chance that it may compete with the dollar. Well, since in that region, one of their primary resources that they leverage for capital is oil, much of that would be backed by oil. Well, therein lies the problem, because the Federal Reserve Bank and all the central banks of the world evaluate dollars now, today, on the value of oil. So where you think it's not backed by anything anymore, yes it is. It's backed on oil and debt. Nations that owe money to the central banks. And the primary, let's say, value exchange there is oil, okay? Or what they equate the value of money to is oil and debt. Well, it became such a lucrative opportunity for those folks that they started turning money into light. You say, what? Yeah, money is light. It's no longer paper. People are like, that's not true. It went to plastic. You have your credits and debits cards and things like that, right? Debt. Debt is a form of value equating to money, right? But money is light. Most of you right now don't carry cash in your wallets anymore. Come on, guys. How many of you say, oh, it's so much easier just use my debit card because my wallet gets too thick and, you know. When was the last time you held $10,000 in your hand? Have you ever even had that much in the bank? And I'll answer your question right away. None of you have ever had that much in the bank. You're like, screw you, Bob. I got like $15 million in the bank. No, you don't. No, you don't. You have an IOU for debt in the bank. That's all you have, right? So if I focus, and I said money was that, and I said it enough, and I showed you verifiable proof over and over and over and over again, what would begin to happen over the years? You believe it, right? And that's what part of society is doing right now. They're believing that because it's being said by their side over and over and over again. Where on the other side, you're hearing, you deserve to have everything, and you deserve to get it for free, and you deserve to have the government support you. See, it's difficult. A lot of people don't know where my political views stand because I like to press the buttons on both sides, and I do political marketing for sometimes, right? Not all the time. But they don't realize that I do that for people that I believe in, that I know work their asses off, that can help promote positive change in the direction that we need to see happen. That's it. I just help those people get their message out there. Don't help them get elected, never would. I don't agree with everything they say, and I tell them when I don't. Okay? But see, if I have that belief, or I help you have the belief that money's just oil, or it's just light, or it's just anything, what happens then? You're like, well, then what's the point, right? Let's try something different then. When vibrated differently, that energy we call money could be that land you always wanted. It can grow on trees. It could be the house of your dreams. But most importantly, what are all those things? They're experiences. So if we can equate the value of money in our lives to the experiences we'd like to achieve, and we focus our energy, our reticular activating system, which is our conscious focused mind, on that end process to get to that place, to receive that other energy, well, guess what? We can create what we want. I promised I'd tell you about the experiment I did. So my dad passed away, and you have to understand that he was my best friend. He was my closest friend. Sure, my wife's my best friend, but my dad was my best guy friend. I was probably in this world man to man, not closer to anybody else in my life. We didn't always agree. We argued a lot. We loved to have heated discussions, but we also liked to sit for hours quietly in the garage, not even speaking a word, just working on a car or a truck or something. And it was almost like we were having a conversation, the sounds of the tools and whatever it may be. What a lot of people didn't realize about us were my dad and I were kind of recluses. Like, we loved exciting things, we really did. We liked quiet, and we liked to just sit in our own thoughts and be around other people in that too. But there wasn't many people in our lives that liked that as well, that enjoyed sitting in silence, doing something and staying busy with our hands without saying a word. Not many people in our lives like that. We were a lot alike. When I was a kid, I didn't get it, but we did it anyway. As I got older, I appreciated the fact that I get him because I'm that. Right? We started vibrating at the same frequency. And when that happened, we started accomplishing things together. Just on the cusp of being so close to being so in sync with one another. One morning I show up at his house, and my mom, who's very ill, said that my dad fell down upstairs last night, and she couldn't find out what happened because she was stuck in her bed. And I went upstairs, and he had died in the middle of the night, around dinner time the night before. It was the most distressful situation I had ever faced in my entire life. I handled it calmly for my mother's sake because I didn't want her to get too sick over the whole thing because her mind is very fragile. I called the police. I sat with my mom. My sister took her away to my other sister while I was cleaning up the house and things like that. And then I can't tell you much about the rest of that day. Or I really can't tell you about any of that week beyond that point. I decided consciously, I don't feel like being active this week. And then something weird happened. I started being inspired. About a month later, I started being inspired by things. People, kids, way things people thought. I started appreciating people for who they are and how they are. Okay? And through that appreciation, I started looking at people and saying, why do they feel that way? Why are they vibrating in that way? I mean, there's so much to look forward to. Why are they being like this, right? There's a lot of negative people around. But I just stepped back from it and said, I'm not participating in the negativity. I just want to understand it. Well, it'd been years since I would sit and watch world events and news and anything that had to do with war or anything like that. I mean, in the midst of my first decade of my adult life, I'm riddled with cancer. I can barely move. I'm running businesses and doing all this other stuff. And then planes start hitting buildings in New York and the Pentagon and going down in Pennsylvania. And, you know, I live right in downtown Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania at the time. And I just didn't want anything to do with that part of the world. I just wanted to shut it off. So I did. I just shut it off. And I got healthy and I got married and started having babies. And but I told you, at the end of my cancer, that's when things started to go progressively wrong. Because I shut off the outside world. I didn't understand the reality of what the world was going through. Now you have to understand, I taught many people during this time how to be extremely successful. But I secluded myself a lot. Remember, I liked being alone in my own thoughts, right? Well, one day, about a year after my dad died, which was, you know, about 10 years after, 9 years after I'd gotten healthy, something happened. I started watching the news again. Do that. Let's see if this will work. I started watching the news again. I started paying attention. I started realizing, man, there's a lot of people out there playing games with one another, and is that really the news doing it? Is the news taking side? I mean, is the news doing this? Is the newspapers? And I started watching the alternative media stuff. See, a lot of people don't understand that. We'll get to that some other time. It doesn't really matter. You have people over here that have opinions and people that over here that have opinions, and both of them are telling each other that they're fake, and both of them have a point. They're all fake because they're omitting the facts that create a complete story. You get that? Okay? So I won't omit anything here with you today. But I started getting back into, around this time, I started getting into all that stuff heavily, and that's why I got back into political marketing and things like that. And progressively, I was watching my clients go away, I was watching my income decline, and I was thinking, well, maybe because I'm focused on this stuff so much, and I'm pushing these people away, maybe I was creating that vibration that would repel these people. That's actually not what happened at all. What started happening was they started getting caught up in the worldly stuff too. They dealt with it differently than I did. I decided, you know what, I want to rediscover the things that I always loved to do, like wearing flannel. No. I wanted to get back to nature. I wanted to get back to the woods. I wanted to camp more. I wanted to hunt more. I wanted to start working with my hands again. I love building stuff and making things and art. And I started making things like this, my own tools. You know, my mind went to a place was I'd really like to be able to do these things like woodcraft, bushcraft. Woodcraft is making things from green woods, like tables and chairs and spoons and bowls and all kinds of things you could possibly imagine. And bushcraft is more about being in the wilderness and making a, let's say, comfortable camp from the things around you, okay? It's not survival. It's about including nature with the process of camping, basically, okay? And my mind immediately went to, because I was watching all these negative things and all this disgusting things that were going on television from these top people that are supposed to be the people that you look up to in your nation, my mind started going to, well, you don't have the tools, you can't do it. And then the other part of my mind, see, the subconscious part was saying you can't. Because I said, I don't have the tools, my subconscious heard do not. Doesn't understand don't. Doesn't understand conjecture. It doesn't understand, you know, being philosophical. It understands direct commands. And I said, I don't have the tools. My subconscious mind started telling my conscious mind, do not have the tools. Meaning, don't you dare Okay? And when you realize that, you're doing that to yourself. You start to reframe the way you speak and way you actively think. So I said, well, genius boy that Mensa tries to recruit every single year and you keep turning them down, and that's true, and that's a story for another day. You went to school to learn how to build things. You went to art school to learn how to create better than you already knew how to do. You like to work with your hands. You know how to forge metal. You know how to carve wood. You know how to go out there and select the right materials to begin to create the things that you want. What do you need? That was an amazing question. Write that down. What do you need? Write it down as your subconscious mind speaking to you, your conscious mind. What do you need to make this happen? Or, better still, what do you believe you need? Then go learn what you actually need from the people that know. I started watching YouTube videos of bushcrafters and metal workers, and oh my God, I opened up this world. I'd spent the years since my dad died up until now focused on the news and the world events and business and coaches that wanted to coach other coaches on how to coach and make money teaching other people how to coach. I got caught up in all that. And then I found Alex Steele, hammering on his anvil over in the UK, and I found Samurai Carpenter up in Canada making these beautiful constructions of wood that he was harvesting his own materials and making his own logs and beams and everything else and making Japanese carpentry come together. And for a tall, skinny white dude from Canada, he was doing a great job too, right? And I started watching these people, and I started watching Dave Canterbury out there, and he was doing traditional Eastern woodcraft, which was what I was raised on. So his frequency was resonating with me. I said, well, there's a guy right there. Look, he's making this stuff. He's teaching his videos how to make that. So I made it. Now I can carve spoons and bowls and all kinds of different curved things that I would like. And I'd like to make more of these. I wanted to get out to the woods. I live in Pennsylvania. If it's not snowing, it's raining, right? I started learning about dry bag material. How I can just take these valuable things that I'm creating, and if I have the right equipment with me, it doesn't matter if it's raining. I can put my wool blanket and my tarp that I like to sit on in there, and I can take my tools and drop them in there. I keep my rain gear in there. I can keep a pail of water and my fire starting material, because I'm out in the woods. I can make a campfire, and I can put a tarp up over me that would usually be over me, but now over my camera. Most importantly, I found that he's a guy that really has a lot of skills, and he understood the Eastern form of woodcraft in such a traditional Appalachian way that he had the tools. His company was making the tools that I had been looking for, that before the internet I could never find these things, and if I did, they were in antique shops and they cost a fortune. These are the tools that I needed. And here's a guy that's just openly and willingly teaching, resonating at the same frequency as me. Then I began to do the same thing in my business, copywriting. People said, Bob, your prices are too low. I said, no, they're not. Here's the thing. I don't know what happened in the internet marketing industry. I don't know what happened in that space where everybody believed that everything they sell is worth $5,000 or $10,000. I don't know what happened. Is it saying that these people aren't worth the value that they've decided they're worth? No, it's not. But if you go to all the many other industries, and we find this out, we're working with congressmen and all these things, and we name our price, right? And they're like, holy crap, I can never afford that. You might be saying, oh, those congressmen, they get all this money. No, you really don't understand. Their campaign offices, their main office, they don't have the budget. They don't have the budget to effectively get their message out there. It's one of the biggest problems in the world today, that no budget is being allocated to properly put a message out there in its entirety, in its completeness. So they use more cost-effective methods like a website, and they just pop it on there, but they don't have the budget to tell everybody every time they put something on there, because so much stuff is happening all the time. And those guys sit there and say, why don't people understand that we're actually working down here in DC? A lot of them are. You have no idea. There's over 500 people between the House and the Senate, right? They don't understand why nobody can see it, what they're doing. It's because the news will talk about this, so everybody focuses on this. And there's all these other productive things actually going on that nobody knows about. And if those things weren't happening, I'll tell you this, you wouldn't have that light that is now money in your bank account. You wouldn't have infrastructure. You wouldn't have public buses driving down the road. You wouldn't be able to keep your house because everything would be seized by the state because they'd all go bankrupt like Illinois is doing right now, raising people's taxes by 32%. See, since the nation began to vibrate in a negative frequency, and the media saw that negative frequency and realized it and started vibrating in the same way to increase that frequency because ratings started going up, which meant oil companies started getting more money because they're owned by those companies. What started happening was everybody started placing that negativity on the people that they need to blame somebody. They can't blame themselves, so they blame the politicians, all of them, all of them, all of them. All of them. Without proof, without validation, without verification that anything wrong is being done there. Because they saw too many instances where they could obviously see wrong was being done by some of the higher ups, and nothing was being done, and they weren't being reprimanded for that or being held accountable. And because of that, people started vibrating in this negative way, and all of a sudden the same thing started happening that had happened to me during this experiment. The funds in the bank account started dropping. Bills started piling up. Things that seemed so simple to me, like grocery shopping, became very difficult. I couldn't see spending that amount of money on certain things. When beef prices went up to almost $9.50 a pound, that seemed ridiculous to me. And chicken was almost the same. I'm like, what? Chicken? Really? I used to have a meat company. I'm kind of, what? Right? And then I realized something. Well, it is what it is. Why don't I go in my local neighborhood and find some farmers that are positively vibrating and realizing what the actual value of these things are, and go exchange my value with them, my light with their light. So I did. I went to the local butcher, and people were like, oh man, that must have cost you a fortune. Actually, no. In the country, the local butcher also owns the farm with the meat. So you're paying wholesale prices, basically. We were like, no, it's got to cost more than that. No, you get primer cuts of meat, which can seem more expensive than the cheaper garbage you buy that's soaked with water and chemicals at the store. But no, it is not more expensive. You'd be surprised. And that was the day I realized. I was walking through my yard, and we were pruning apple trees. We have all these different apple trees, and I'm like, hey, my dad lied to me. I love my dad. I miss him so every day. I think about him. Every day I talk to him. I miss him. He would have loved all of this. He didn't get to see this. He would have loved all of this. I miss him. But he lied to me. Do you know how he lied? He told me money didn't grow on trees. He told me that money didn't grow on trees. Yet when I was cutting my apple trees and realized at the grocery stores and the farmers markets that apples were anywhere between $7 to $8 a pound, and I was harvesting 80 pounds off of one apple tree. It's worth $640 at the farmers market. I said, well, Dad, you lied to me. Money does grow on trees. When I could harvest some of this pine, this intrusive pine that's in a place it's not supposed to be, and I can create workbenches and sawhorses and shaving horses for my woodcraft stuff that I can create furniture from and I can sell as pieces of art or functional pieces of furniture. I said, well, Dad, there's money right there. When I could buy 100 acres of wooded land in the Arkansas Ozarks above any floodplain, and in 15 years, the trees that are already on that land, I'm told by a broker, a lumber broker, these are professionals who go out and do this stuff, says in 15 years, we've marked the trees that will be worth tens of thousands of dollars. You just gotta wait. But in the meantime, go camping and enjoy your land. And that cost $45,000 to buy that land, that 100 acres of mountain land with harvestable lumber that needs to be cleared anyway because it would be risk for forest fires, because those trees also didn't belong there. And we'd be replacing them with things like black walnut that are worth tens of thousands of dollars per board length. Well, I said, well, that's money. Doesn't grow on trees. I recalibrated my energy to vibrate in a different way, to look at things differently. Luckily, I'm not one of those people that believes money solves all problems. I'm not one of those people who believe that I need to make tens of millions of dollars or anything like that. But I wouldn't mind it, as long as I can do it in a smart way. And here's what I was getting to. This is where the decline started. I began to do what, kind of my family programmed me to do, and I had gotten out of that programming for a long time. But when something like your father dies, you find them like that. Your mother has over 64 mini strokes before the age of 50, and she becomes like a child, and she doesn't remember who you are or who your kids are. And you watch her writhe in that lost state of thought. It begins to damage you. It begins to break you down. It begins to make you say, I wish things were the way they used to be. My subconscious didn't know which period of time I was talking about. So it started navigating me towards the way it used to be. Sitting in the woods with my pap and my dad, hunting, fishing, doing some woodcrafting, bushcrafting, being a working guy. There it was. That was it right there. See, there's employees, there's the self-employed, there's business owners, and there's investors. Thank you, Robert Kiyosaki, right? And many, many other people along the way. The employed people have a job. They're beholden to somebody else in order to get a paycheck. And my dad used to say, hey, get your work done quick, get it done right, get it done the first time, get it out of the way first part of the day. He used to do that at his job. And then they'd give him 50 other things to do because he got all of his work done easily. Now this is going to stop, and we're going to go to the next part. Give me a second here. Okay, next part. For whatever reason, my camera is timing me. I have it set wrong. So they would give him 50 times more work for the afternoon, because my dad worked hard. He got it done right the first time. He was really good at what he did, and they took advantage of that. What my dad didn't realize was he was only getting paid to do the one job. He should have took the time that it took everybody else to do it, because there was no room for him to move up in this company. It was owned by a family, and he wasn't part of it, part of that family. There was no way he was going to move up to a level where he was in ownership or partnership or anything like that. So he should have just got done doing the job that he was paid for in the amount of time that people would typically do that job. I know that sucks to say that kind of thing. People are always saying, work your way up. You're only going to get paid one amount. You're going to trade time for dollars. The amount of work you do throughout that day is going to be dependent upon how much you do and how fast you do it. If people only expect you to do these 3 things throughout the course of an 8-hour day, do those 3 things. I know people are going to say, that's counterproductive, Bob. Don't be like that. Would you be like that in your business? No, because it's my business. And I'm going to hire other people to do a lot of that bullshit for me, so I'm not there doing it. I'm going to leverage the time and effort of other people to get it done for me. If I'm investing in properties, real estate, whatever it may be, blue chips, interest-bearing bonds, if I'm going to do that, my money's going to work for me. People are like, well, you're self-employed. Self-employed people create a job for themselves. See, the employed people have a job that somebody else owns. Self-employed people have a job that you own. You created a job for yourself. You own that now. Only difference is, now you have to make all the tough choices too. Business owner leverages the efforts of other people. An investor leverages money to make more money for themselves and their family and their legacy, right? So what I started doing was, I started saying, What would be a good investment for other people to make in the services that I like to do? I love to write. I enjoy it. I'd do it all day long, every day. As long as I had time to do things like this as well and play with my kids and spend time with my wife, which I do, I write all the time. I love it. I love copywriting. I love writing fiction. I love researching. I love the whole process of it. I'm so enthralled by it all. And I love to see the reaction of people when they get that copywriting service from me and what it does for them. I want to know that what I put out there to these people is something they've invested in, not purchased, invested in, that's going to give them a return. There was where my mind went away in business for the past 4 years. People were asking me to provide something to them that I knew they wouldn't get a return for. Just stuff they thought they needed. And I didn't understand why stuff. And it's because that's where everybody's at, just throwing their money at stuff and hoping the stuff will do something for them. So I started selling a service that I knew I could always help people get a return on, as long as obviously they have to send advertising and things like that to it. That's when I started choosing clients that would do that. And I knew we're doing that. And I started asking those questions, are you doing this? And if they said no, then I wasn't working with them, because they were going to hang all their hopes on that writing I was doing and not how it fits into their entire system, right? And that's what life is all about. It's about these vibrations, changing the way we look at something, talk about something, the way we talk to ourselves, obviously. But it's also about the systems that we put into place to help return energy. So if I put this energy out to you, it doesn't take me much effort. It takes you less effort to listen. Not just hear, active hearing, listening, taking it in and processing it. It doesn't take you that much energy to do that. To take in this information, to hear it, to understand it right now. And when you're done and you turn this off, now you go and you implement this thought process. You start to say, yeah, wait, I'm not broke. I'm not broke. No. I've been waiting. I've been waiting for something to happen. I'm done waiting now. I'm going to make something happen. I'm not broke. I've been waiting. I've been stagnant. I've been in a holding pattern. Now, I'm going to take this information Bob gave me, and I'm going to start paying attention, and I'm going to start creating my own systems. I'm going to make sure right now, until I get to the financial place I want to get to, that every dollar is accounted for. No wasteful spending. That's the first thing that's going to help you get there. Every dollar is accounted for. No wasteful spending. People are like, well, I want to get that new job, and somebody offered me a new job, but they want me to come in for an interview, and I dress like Bob does, and I don't have a nice suit for the interview. Buying the suit is not wasting money. Buying the suit is investing in yourself to be able to get that job if you want it. Just make sure that job pays you in a way where you can start taking some of that money consciously and put it into investments. So over the years, look, if you were able to take let's say a $9,000 initial investment, $750 a month, and if you're young, this is going to work out great for you. You're going to love this. $9,000 down, $750 a month, split into two ways. It's called a diverse portfolio. You can talk to a financial advisor about this, traders, stockbrokers. You want blue chip stocks? They're high risk, but high yield. They're cheap. Interest-bearing bonds, low risk, low yield, but very safe. And if you're splitting your money in these two places each month, $750 a month plus that original $9,000 investment, and you do that for 30 years, it's better than a pension plan. Better than a pension plan. Better than a freaking pension plan. Here's why. You'll have somewhere around $1.2 million at the end of that 30 years. Don't touch it. Don't sell any of those stocks. Don't trade them. You just keep investing. 50% of that goes to Interest-bearing bonds, 50% of that goes to blue chip stock. It's a long-term game. People are like, oh, I want that now. Go do something else. Learn a valuable skill that a market really says, I really want these freaking people and they're nowhere to be found. Once again, invest in you. Be selfish, invest in you. Make you better. Hire somebody to teach you how to do this stuff that I do. Hire somebody to do that copywriting for you. Hire somebody, go to a Tony Robbins event if that's what it takes and walk across fire for Christ's sake, or a Marshall Silver event at Turning Point and eat fire. If that's what it takes to get you inspired, to get you motivated, invest in you. But if you make those big decisions and you have something like I do, like a wife and kids, discuss it with them and explain to them why this is critical. And then you stay on track and you make it happen. See, I find if I make a promise to my wife and kids, I make it happen like that. If I just make the promise to myself, I take my time. Why is that? Well, because I care more about breaking a promise to them than I do about breaking one to myself, just like you do. Right? See, there's three things. The way people say things, okay? There's the things that they actually say, like, I really want to be wealthy, and I'm going to make $1 million this year. Nobody's going to stand in my way. What they don't say, I have no fucking idea how I'm going to do that. What they can't say, you know, I might put on a good face and whatever. I don't think I'm capable of this, and I think I'm going to let everybody in my life down. And man, sleeping in the gutter or hiding in the woods right now sounds really freaking good. See, those three things are actually also how you speak to your market. You want to make more money and you're in business, or you provide a service or skill set. First, talk to what people are always telling you. Enter the conversation that's already in their minds, right? Well, that's wrong. If you enter there, you'll be at what they can't say or at what they don't say. That's the wrong place to enter the conversation. You have to do it in order. First, you have to enter the conversation of what they do say. That brings them in like, hey, yeah, I was just saying that the other day. Come here, Bob, you're saying the thing. Here, talk to me some more. And then I start weaving it into what they don't say, and they're like, how'd you know that? Right? And then I nail them with what they can't say. And people are like, oh, you know? You can help me fix that? Man, this guy's like right there with me. See how that works? Some people say that don't work. Who's president of the United States right now? It's 2017, just in case you were wondering. It's July of 2017. Who's president of the United States? You might not like it. You might love it. You might be like, don't give a damn. Who is it? And how did he do it? First, he entered the conversation through debates, running in the primaries, news interviews. People were giving him a lot of airtime. Why? Because he was different. And they didn't believe he was going to get anywhere, but they were intrigued because Donald Trump always gets ratings on TV, right? And he was talking about what people were saying. He was entering his market's minds. And then he began to shift in what they're not saying. It's real. I'd like to make more money, and it seems like our nation forgot about us. You know, we're blue-collar workers, and nobody's paying attention to us anymore. So he started paying attention to that and letting them know that he was paying attention. Then the things they can't say, right? No. Be politically correct. We don't need a great big wall down there. Don't tell us who can and can't come into this country, because if you do, you're a bigot. You're prejudiced. You're racist. You're a piece of worthless shit. And we don't stand for white people like you. We don't stand for people like you. We don't stand for people like you, or you, or you, or you. They made sure that they covered the gambit and sprayed these people for years. You can't say what you want to say. Because if you do, we're going to make sure people know that you hate people. But that wasn't most people. Most people were just like, well, we're kind of concerned because bad guys are coming in, and it seems like it's really hard to get a job. And I was trained to do this thing, but now technology says they need this instead, and people were confused, lost, felt betrayed, they felt abandoned. So Donald Trump, instead of asking those people, "Hi, come here, what haven't you been able to say that you've been wanting to?" Instead, he did this. I'm going to say the things that you can't say. And I'm going to say it loud. And I'm going to take all the heat. I'm going to let people throw all that stuff at me. Why? Because he don't care. He don't care if anybody throws anything at him. You might be like, Bob, you sound like you're like Donald Trump. Doesn't matter. Hated a lot of the things that he's done, like some of the things that he's doing. This is the way it is. It's just the way it is. And if you're honest with yourself, you'd think the same thing if you were paying attention. I hate the way Democrats do things, and I love some of the things that they do. I hate the way independents do things, and I love some of the way. I'm like this constitutional, libertarian, conservative, progressive. You know, it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in or what they're talking about, right? But the point here is, if you understand what they're saying, what they don't say, and what they can't say, and you make sure your message covers those things in that order, you win. You'll make more money. Trust me. I'm a copywriter. I'm a marketer. Trust me. No, seriously. As a man to person, man to man, man to woman, whoever's listening to this, trust me when I say that's what gets you ahead. And in another video, I'll cover the P's, the 4 P's of all of this that will tie it all together. For right now, what I want you to realize is you could see this life filled with weeds and dying trees, or broke and no bank account, or you can understand that this field that is filled with this can be medicine, can be an antibiotic, can be nourishment, can heal the skin, and can provide calories when cooked properly to help me survive if I needed to. This tarp you can't see that's right above, there it is, it's right above my camera. That could just be a rain cover. It could be placed on a chair underneath my wool blanket to keep my wool blanket dry because my seat was wet. It can be placed on the ground for me to lay on if I need to stay dry. Folded properly, hanging the way it's hanging today, if I put a bowl or a pot on the end of it while it's raining, I could catch water for nourishment. Find your catch basin for nourishment and change. My camera went off again. Change your energy. Change the vibrational state. Stop saying, I can't because, I can't because, I can't because, and say, well, I can if I can figure out how to. I'm going to find these people know how to do it. I'm going to start watching and reading their stuff. I'm going to start paying attention. I'm going to start commenting in social media in a positive, constructive way and asking constructive questions until I find all the information I'm looking for. I'm going to change my vibration. And trust me, it doesn't happen overnight. You got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it. It's work. It's work. It's really the only job you should create for yourself. It's about constantly improving the way you vibrate, what you focus on. That reticular activation system, you should probably research that a little bit because it's the thing that we focused on. 65,000 thoughts in a day. There's birds tweeting. There's a sound down the road. Sounds like somebody's working on a machine. I've heard cars. I think I'm hearing your thoughts too. Hold on. I hear rain dripping. But while I'm talking to you, I'm focused on this. While I'm speaking to you, I'm focused on the collection of thoughts that I put together that I wanted to speak about today. Took the time this morning to sit down and really think about the points I want to cover. And no script, didn't write it down. And I found a constructive way to tell you this stuff while telling a story. But here's what you have to understand. If I paid attention to all these other things and the 65,000 thoughts as well, I'd go insane. Our reticular activation system allows our conscious mind to focus. You want to learn how to write better web copy so you can sell that as a service, and you really want to be a great copywriter? Focus on the people that know what the hell they're doing. Don't stop focusing until you become that, and people start seeing that, and they start realizing they need you. You want to become a better person, a better salesperson in your own business, or have someone teach people how to do better sales in your own business, and you focus on what it takes to become that. Read everything you can, watch everything you can. Most importantly, every single day, take at least one action to make it happen. You want to become a better mother, a better father, a better sister, better brother, better son, better daughter, whatever it may be. Find out how to become that. That also resonates with your soul, not just because other people want you to be that way. Most importantly, is focus on what you want. Go get it. Go get it. Make it happen. And don't stop until you get it. Because your life might depend on it someday. Mine did. I wasn't giving up. Screw that. Whatever was going to happen, but I was going to do my damnedest to make it happen the way I wanted to. If it didn't, ultimate failure, right? But it did. As should everything. See you next time. Take care.